I was called to a guest room to unclog the sink. I grabbed our shop vac, plunger, and some Drano and went to the guest's room. I knocked on the door, to no answer. I used my key fob to enter the room, and went into the bathroom to test the sink out. Sure enough, the sink was clogged. I grabbed the plunger and went to work on the drain. After a few minutes, the guest came into the room and asked me what I was doing. I'm unclogging the sink, miss. Didn't you call the desk and tell them it was clogged? Yes, I mentioned it an hour ago. Oh, I'm sorry, they just gave me the call now. She went further into the room and sat down in the chair. I went back to unclogging the sink. As I was working, she started to tell me she called the night before and the guy didn't fix it. I'm sorry, miss, I didn't know anything about that, I said as I continued to plunge the sink. He gave me a line after about 2 minutes of him fixing it, then left the room. I don't know what kind of place they're running here. But this is not how you run a business. I'm sorry to hear that, miss. I'll take care of the sink. I hope so, I just want to be able to wash my hands. I continued to work on the drain as she went on about the maintenance man from last night. She then stood up and was in the doorway as I was vacuuming out the drain. I ran some water in the drain to see if it backed up. She stood over my shoulder and we watched the sink. The sink ran for a few minutes and didn't back up. I started putting my stuff away as the woman continued talking about the maintenance man from the night before. I want to speak to your manager so I can get his name. You shouldn't have had to come here and do something he could have done. I got my things together and was heading for the door when she stopped me. She stood in front of her chair and told me the whole story over again. Now I have heard this at least 3 times in the last 20 minutes and was getting tired of it. She obviously was upset and wanted to be heard. I probably shouldn't have said what I said. But I did, and her reaction was priceless. I said, I don't know who did this to you. But I'll make it my personal goal to find them and punish them to the fullest extent of my imagination. She stared at me for a little bit, then slowly sat down in the chair. That's a little extreme, isn't it? She said. Not at all, miss. We do anything to make your stay here more worthwhile. If he gets fired and becomes a homeless drug addict without shoes, then so be it. She started shaking her head no as I was talking. I said, I'm upset because you're upset. The woman held her head down in her hands. She then looked up at me and said, you know what? It's not that big of a deal. Are you sure, miss? Yes, I'm sure. I may have overreacted. Okay, as long as you're sure. I left the room and didn't see her the rest of her stay.
Hey there, boy, how you doing?
R.I.P. Davis, you'll be missed. Subscribe.